how are you? Did you have a wonderful week? We have some sunshine and we have some rain. We thank God for both of these. Tonight, I continue to ask the Lord to protect each one of us and our families, and also to continue to bless us with His love, with His joy, and with His peace. Tonight, we're going to study a new book, the book of Numbers. And I want to ask you a question. Do you like numbers? Well, that's an author trying to illustrate a point. He said he went to a large online bookstore to see if he could find a book entitled The Joy of Counting. I didn't find it, he said. I found the joy of cooking, the joy of photography, even the joy of juicing, but I couldn't find any book called The Joy of Accounting. That's what he said. Well, we know why, right? Would a book filled with columns of numbers be popular? It probably isn't much fun to read. Perhaps I'm wrong. Maybe you are one of the few that loves numbers. But in reality, actually, we all like numbers. Depends on what kind of numbers we are talking about. Sports fans like to read the stats of the favorite players or teams. Investors frequently read the Dow Jones Index and the S&P 500 reports. Those are numbers, right? Shoppers love to compare prices of items they are planning to purchase, and they are numbers too, right? You know where I'm going. We don't mind numbers if they are relevant to our interest. So, why God wants Moses to write a book of numbers? It's probably relevant for them. But what is there for us to learn? Is it relevant for us? Well, the book of Numbers is a continuation of the story of God's dealing with His people. Began in Genesis, then Exodus, and then Leviticus. These people were delivered from slavery, and they left Egypt, now traveling to the wilderness, to the land that God had promised them. Eventually, we'll see that the wilderness is a place full of challenges, and it's also a place that eventually transformed God's people. And we can relate to that. So again, what can we learn from a chapter that is about counting people, about census? In the United States, the government takes a census every 10 years, right? You and I have gone through that. Well, there are two main reasons for doing this. They want to know how many resources they have and how many resources they need. A census tells us how many people should pay taxes and could theoretically be drafted to fight in our armed forces. And also, how many roads and schools and senator each town and senate state should have. I come to learn that census is about commitment. We allow the government to count us because we are citizens and we are committed to be part of the resources for the country, like paying taxes. And at the same time, the government is committed to provide us with resources like roads, schools and parks, and security, etc. The ancient world takes census for the same reason, for taxation and for military planning. The Israelites are to count the men that are 20 years of age or more. If they are healthy, they are to join the army when there is war. God commanded Moses to take census because census, besides for the purpose of war, it is also the first step to organizing a nation. The Israelites have been slaves in Egypt for over 400 years, right? We talked about that. They needed organization. God didn't just hand them the promised land because there were lessons for them to learn. The people needed to learn discipline, and they needed to learn commitment, willing to give of themselves, to be loyal to God and to each other. These are important components for building a nation, even a small community. In Numbers chapter 1, the census is for all men 20 years and older, I just mentioned. Those who are able to go to war. And you notice there was no exemption for senior citizens. As long as they're healthy, they're able, they are going to go to war. How was the census taken? Did Moses and Aaron go tent by tent to count the people? Actually, they already have a basic structure, a system. If you remember, Jacob had 12 sons, and the 12 sons' descendants became 12 tribes. Each tribe were divided to families and divisions. In Exodus, we read that each tribe had chosen a leader. And these 12 leaders were appointed to assist Moses and Aaron. And here is the result of the count. I've listed all the tribes with a designated leader and the number of men that are eligible for military service in a tribe. And this is the count, and this is their leaders. For Reuben, there are 46,500 people, and the leaders Eliezer. And Simeon, the tribe of Simeon, 59,300 people, and the leader is Shelomi. And the tribe of Gad, 45,650, the leader is Eliasaph. Judah, 74,600. And the leader's name is called Nahshon. Issachar, 54,000. And the leader's name is Nathanael. And Zebulun, 57,400. And the leader, Eliab. Ephraim, 40,500. Leader, Elishama. Manasseh, 32,200. The leader, Gamaliel. Benjamin, 35,400. Leader, Abidan. Dan, 62,700. Ahiezer. Asher, 41,500. Pagiel is the leader. Naphtali, 53,400. And the leader, Ahira. We can see that God is full of wisdom. And we observe that this organization is dividing into family units, which is advantageous for establishing an army. Why is that? There are 3 reasons. Number 1, soldiers already have experience, can focus on working and training their relatives, someone they already know, and they don't have the added burden of building new relationship with strangers. Second reason, the tribal structure provide a ready-made system of military leadership. Besides, they were familiar with hierarchy and structure. Moses' father-in-law, Jethro, introduced a system to them early on. You can go back and look in Exodus, the book of Exodus. Third reason, most important, soldiers have tremendous incentive to protect their fellow soldiers and effectively cooperate with them because their fellow soldiers are not just any private first class or sergeant or lieutenant. They are also their brother, cousin, or uncle. Well, the total number of men that are 20 and above, added all together, were 603,550. Some scholars question the count. They feel that the number is too large. But that's an indicator that God had fulfilled his promise to Abraham, that he would bless them, bless him, remember in Genesis 12? He would bless Abraham with a multitude of descendants, as many as the stars in the sky. Besides, there are multiple places in the Bible that support this number. You know, the count is accomplished fairly quickly. If we have to count 603,000, it will probably take us a while. Well, the Bible said that only took them around 20 days or less than 20 days. Well, it is because each tribe has been organized in clans, and each clan only has to collect their own tallies of names and then hand them over to the tribal leaders and then to Moses. We notice the 12 tribes do not include the tribe of Levites. Why? It is because the Levites are not to be part of the regular army. Rather, their job is to guard and take care of the tabernacle. So you might ask, Jacob had 12 sons, and why were there 12 tribes when Levites were not present? Well, that means there were 13 tribes, including the Levites. Well, if you recall the last blessing of Jacob, he gave double blessings and inheritance to the son of his favorite wife, Rachel, Joseph, right? He gave double portion of blessing to Joseph. He gave a blessing to Joseph's firstborn, Ephraim, and another blessing to Joseph's second son, Manasseh. Therefore, Joseph's tribe was divided to 2. So now you see how it arrives at 12 without the tribe of Levi. So now, about the Levites. The Levites are descendants of the third son of Jacob. Although the Levites were not included in the army as soldiers to fight the enemies, but they had their roles in warfare. So what were those roles? Number 1, before each battle, the high priest's duty was to encourage the troops that God is with them, to give them victory. You can look at that in Deuteronomy chapter 20, verses 22 to 4. Number 2, and through the high priest, by means of Urim and Thummim in his breastplate, the army could ask the Lord for guidance in making military decisions. You could go to the book of Judges, chapter 20, verses 27 to 28. Number 3, later in Numbers, Phinehas, son of Eleazar, the high priest, goes into battle against the Midianite. He brought some temple utensils and trumpets, and he used them for signaling. Look at Numbers 31, verse 6. The Levites are hardworking people because besides being spiritual leaders during both wartime and peaceful time, they also manage the logistic of the tabernacle. In Numbers, we study there are 3 divisions in the tribe of Levites, and each division named after Levi's son Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. And each division has special responsibilities in regard to setting up and taking down the tabernacle. The Gershonites, responsible for the curtains, coverings, and entrance screens of the tabernacle. The Kohathites, in charge of the most sacred item, the Ark of the Covenant, table of showbread, lampstand, altars. But they cannot touch them directly. Only the high priest can. How about the division of Merarites? They handle the structural components, like the frames, the pillars, the bases of the tabernacle. Now, we're going to talk about chapter 2 of Numbers, the camp arrangement. Right? We talk about God is a God of order. If the Israelite men were to be organized into army, the camp had to be a military camp. So in this chapter, God taught them how to arrange the tribes with the tabernacle in the center. The 12 tribes, not including the Levi, are to be divided into 4 groups of 3 tribes each. The tabernacle and the Levites are in the middle. Each group of 3 tribes will be positioned to one of the 4 directions of the compass: east, south, west, and north. When they set out to leave the movement, they usually go by the clockwise direction, starting from the east. And I will show you the diagram of how they set up their camp. The 3 tribes at the east of the tabernacle is called the camp of Judah, because Judah tribe is the leader of this group. The 3 tribes at the south side is called the camp of Reuben. And the 3 tribes at the west is called the camp of Ephraim. The 3 tribes at the north is called the camp of Dan. In the center is the Lord's sanctuary, surrounded by the tribe of Levi, including Moses and Aaron. When the Israelites move from place to place, the east group set out first, and then comes the south group, west group, the last will be the north group. The Levites carrying the sanctuary and its furnishing come between the south and the west group, just as the Lord's sanctuary was protected by situating it in the middle of the camp. So when traveling, the Levites are in the middle of the marching column to be protected in case of attack in the front or behind. In this organization, Moses can locate every man in his tribe because everyone is accounted for. All was in order for efficient and effective deployment. Why should the Lord be concerned with order and efficiency? After all, hadn't he promised to give the land of Canaan to the Israelite by his own power? The answer is, to begin with, the Bible portrays the Lord God as the God of order. In the creation account of Genesis chapter 1 and 2, God sets up everything on and around planet Earth to function in harmonious order, as described in Job chapter 38. After sin came, it disrupted God's order. And on Mount Sinai, he proclaimed and demonstrated at the Israelite sanctuary a well-functioning order in harmony with his character. Through the instruction of Leviticus, he taught his model community how to interact with and emulate him at every level of life and society. He said to be holy as I am holy. In this way, he sought to establish a wholly new world order that was really a foothold or a first step for progress to the restoration of his original world order. So in summary, we can see that at first glance, Numbers 1 and 2 may seem like mere logistics, a head count and a camp arrangement or marching arrangement. But beneath the surface, these chapters reveal profound truths about God's character and his relationship with his people. Number one, God is a God of order. From creation to redemption, God works with intentionality. The census and camp arrangement are not arbitrary. They reflect divine strategy, ensuring that Israel functions as a well-structured and prepared nation. This mirrors how God works in our lives, bringing order out of chaos, structuring our steps, and guiding us with purpose. Number 2, God calls and equips his people. The census wasn't just about numbers. It was about identity, responsibility, and commitment. Each tribe, each individual had a place and a purpose. Today, as followers of Christ, we too are counted and called, not just to exist, but to participate in God's mission. Number 3, God dwells in the center. The most striking element of Israel's camp arrangement is that the tabernacle, the dwelling place of God, was at the very center. This wasn't just symbolic. It was a powerful reminder that God must be at the focal point of their lives. For us, this points to the call to keep Christ as the center of everything we do. Not our family, not our church. Christ is the center. That means obedience to his commands. Following God is not simply just a matter of emotional attachment and warm, fuzzy feelings in the church. It must also result in transformed lives of obedience. God is not really at the center of lives unless his truth finds expression in every corner of them. Number 4, God prepares his people for the journey ahead. The wilderness journey would be long and difficult. The organization of the people ensures strength, unity, and direction. In the same way, God prepares and positions us in life, often through seasons of waiting and structuring, so that we are equipped for what lies ahead. As you study Numbers chapter 1 and 2, don't just see a census or a camp layout. See a picture of God's sovereignty, his presence, and his preparation. These chapters remind us that when God calls his people, he also equips, orders, and leads them forward. The same God who structured Israel's journey is still working in our lives today, guiding us with purpose. Happy Sabbath.